Hello and welcome back to another best practice video for 3rd grade. Today we will discuss the scope on multiplication strategies. Who likes pizza? What do you notice and wonder about the crust and toppings in this picture? Maybe you notice that the toppings are broken up into pepperoni and cheese. I notice the final slice has both pepperoni and cheese on it combined. I just wonder when it's time for lunch. It might sound cheesy, but understanding the properties of multiplication is important to understand the rules about operations and flexibly think about numbers when analyzing expressions and models. Here are the key concepts for this scope on multiplication strategies. I can multiply two whole numbers up to 12 by choosing a method I can use reliably. I can apply the distributive property to multiply a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number. I can apply the commutative property of multiplication to find the product of two numbers. And I can apply the associative property of multiplication and utilize parentheses to find the product. What should we see happening in the classroom to help students achieve these goals? Here we see snippets from some of the STEMscopes explores. Notice that in all examples, students are not only modeling with counters or other concrete objects, but they're often drawing a representation and then recording using expressions and equations. This is all part of the concrete, representational, and abstract approach, otherwise known as the CRA approach. With CRA, we want to show the connections between each model, so teachers may select different students' models and strategies to discuss comparisons. In the last video, the student used tools to create an area model, then showed equations to represent that model. You'll notice this mathematical thinking and reasoning poster. These explorations by students in the classroom could demonstrate MTRs 1, 2, 5, and 7. What does student learning sound like in the classroom? The types of questions we ask of students will help dictate the types of conversations our students are participating in. Here are a few examples of math chat questions from STEMscopes. Does the order of the numbers matter when you're multiplying? How does your model compare to the models drawn here? What factor did you decompose and why? Why could you break apart a 2-digit number into its tens and ones in order to multiply it by a 1-digit number? Here are some key vocabulary that may be seen and heard throughout this scope. These can be found on the parent letter on STEMscopes, and more can be found for teachers under content support in this scope. Throughout the unit of study, we should see multiple opportunities for students to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. This could include student journals and exit tickets during the explores, and show what you know tasks as a follow-up. You may see anchor charts around the room that might look like this. Students may use fluency builders with games to practice and elaborate on their content knowledge. These activities provide the teacher with informal assessments to gauge the student's understanding throughout the scope. Of course, we want to ask students questions to better assess their level of understanding of the current content. Here we see a couple of different questions we could ask to gauge their understanding of multiplication strategies. These example questions and more can be found on mathsmarts.com or by clicking on any of the benchmark links in the instructional guides. Here can be a fun little task to demonstrate a student's understanding of the associative property of multiplication. Each partner rolls a dice 3 times. Using those 3 numbers, each player will multiply those 3 numbers to find the product. Talk about the order of how you multiplied those numbers. The player with the greater product gets a point. The first one to get 10 points wins. Thank you so much for tuning into another Best Practices video. This one all about multiplication strategies. See you next time.